Welcome back to our off-grid life in central Portugal. So the first thing we're looking at in tonight's episode is we're dismantling our old cabin base and repurposing the floorboards, which are tongue and groove. We're taking them inside and downstairs in Rosie's wood cabin. She's going to have these as her floorboards. So let's see how we get on putting these down in tonight's episode. And those of you that have watched us for a couple of years will remember that this old cabin base was originally going to be a bathroom, shower and 2-bedroom cabin that we then didn't go ahead and build because it was too big for us to get permission to build it. So we're building smaller cabins. We started with Rosie's cabin, but without appearing ungrateful to the people that helped us put this base down. It's built to a very poor standard, mainly down to the wood, which was my fault. I bought wood that was probably not up for the job. But equally there was bits that were joined together. You can see that there would not have held any kind of weight, and also the supports that were supposed to be set into concrete buckets are not. So possibly with heavy rain or bad weather they could have moved, so the whole structure would not have been great, putting it politely, probably unsafe. So I'm very pleased actually that we're taking it down and repurposing it. So our plan on one end of it, a third of it, will remain as our bathroom and shower block. So let me show you what our plans are there. So basically that last third, which is 4 joists, so you can see there's 3 there and the 4th one that's here, what we're going to do, so basically from that lump of timber in the ground there, that bit of telegraph pole, we're going to keep everything on that side. I say keep, we're going to have to rebuild it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put more uprights in cement here and here and here, so that's uprights the same as those but of varying lengths according to the ground. So we're going to make it much safer, much stronger, with a lot more supports. And then on that section we're firstly going to build an outhouse style toilet. Long drop toilet will be here. An IBC in this low section with the toilet block up here in that kind of third, and then where this wood is left, which will come off because it's not big enough, but sort of out to here-ish, that will be the bathroom coming out roughly to where that joist is there. So might put some stairs here at the side for access, so that when we're in our cabin and Rosie's in hers, it's not too far to go to the toilet at night. And then our cabin is going here next to Rosie's, and then where Rosie's tent is, which is slowly being reclaimed by nature, that is where our Geodome X is going to be built. Rosie's cabin, and you'll remember in last week's episode we tidied it out and it's now looking rather full again. So we've moved the OSB that is now going to form the walls of the toilet, as we don't need it for the cabin, and we've removed all the floorboards that were on the old cabin block. We've brought those in and they've been cut to size before we remove them, and we've put them all on one side so that I can floorboard the other side, and then we'll move everything over and then finish the other side. So the first thing we're doing is putting these battens down. I've got to finish off, cut some wood to length to do to here, and then the floorboards are going to sit this way on. So we're going to start this side. Once it's insulated, you can see there's one insulation panel in there for reference, so that will all be insulated down there with Rose's help, and then we'll floorboard out this way, and then everything here will move over to there, and then we'll floorboard out this section. So I've got all the battens in, and it's worth pointing out that the battens are laying on top of OSB but above the main joists that are supporting the bottom of the cabin. So the current OSB is like a subfloor, and then insulation on top, and then the battens sitting on top of the main joists, and then the polystyrene is about 1mm fatter than the battens that we're using. So the floorboards should sit nicely and tightly on the polystyrene and form a nice barrier to the hot and the cold coming up from under the ground where Rose's cabin is on stilts. next job is to get Rosie in, and then she's going to help me cut up these bits of polystyrene to do these end sections, and then we can put the floorboards on. We'll come out a third or halfway, and then, as I said earlier, we'll move all this from that side over to that side and rinse and repeat. So the door must be at a slight angle, so I've propped it on cardboard and the thickness of one of the floorboards here, and it's very tight, so I'm going to have to take the door off, and I'm going to try and get away with doing some hefty sanding, but if not I'm going to have to plane off a couple of mil off the top and the bottom, which is a pain, but all part of the snagging and the completion of the cabin, so I guess it's all good. Morning, so it's day 2 of flooring, and had quite a hectic day yesterday. It's actually very hard work using second-hand tongue and groove, which has been outside in the rain and the sun because it's very bent, so there's a lot of swearing and lots of banging and bashing. So let me show you what we've got up to so far now that we're into day 2. We also had to take the door off because we switched from putting OSB as the main flooring to these floorboards, so the door was actually slightly too low, so we had to hang it a bit higher and shave some off the door, so it was all joyous. So you can see the bend there maybe. So this one here, you can see it's fitting there. It's a very tight fit, so a lot of banging. Day 3, and we've got all the polystyrene down. Although it's day 3, it's probably about a long full day's work we've done so far. It is quite hard work, hard on the knees. As you can see, Rosie put down the polystyrene here, so I've got another 3 or 4 rows I'm going to do here, and then Rosie will come back in and finish off this last strip here. So after 3 years here, we've just discovered this lovely new walk, just 10 minutes outside of Castello Branco. You wouldn't know that you're right by a road, beautiful waterfall, you walk through the hills, absolutely stunning, and there'll be a new one for Juan and Sybil. They do like a new walk, but they particularly like being by the river, and in the summer we might try and get down close to the waterfall and see if we can go for a swim.
Nice landscape, isn't it?
It is beautiful. Wildflowers beautiful too.
I don't think I want to leave Gloria at this age. Oh, he's filming. I'll open the gate. Come on, Gloria, bring him out.
So there's Trixie, lovely wings, and Dora's this one, isn't it? There's Dora, sponsored by Expedition Douglas. She's a big girl now. And the lovely brown one. And this was Sandy the girl, is now Sandy the boy. Hello, Sandy.
And Betty adopted the tiny one with black wings.
Right. Dora's getting beautiful bloomers, look at those. And Trixie's got lovely bloomers too. In fact, it's only Mr. Brown or Miss Brown that has no bloomer.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Let's have a look at Trixie's wings and her little head markings. Aren't they stunning? You're going to fly away, Trixie? And where's Dora? That's Dora for you.
Okay.
And she's getting pretty markings too. Whoa!
That was a big one. I suggested that maybe the one at the end there might be Hedwig's daughter. Ah, that's maybe why it's so big. That would be nice.
So with the magic of YouTube, actually 4 weeks has passed since I've finished the lovely floor. I'm very pleased with it, as is Rosie. And in that time, Phoenix has come and visited us and stayed in the cabin. Rosie and I have flown back to England and spent 10 days there. And now we're back. And we're back working on the cabin. So the floor is done, all finished. The last thing to do on the floor is Rosie wants to varnish it with yacht varnish. She likes this weathered colour that has partly come from it being stained, but also from being out in the rain and the sun for a year. So it was a hard job, as it was all warped and bent, but it looks pretty good. Before we varnish it, we'll hoover it and get all the bits of polystyrene out of the cracks, and then it'll all be nice and shiny. So I think that's a job well done. So that has made the floor really solid now, and having the polystyrene a bit thicker that I mentioned earlier in the video has worked exceptionally well, made it feel very solid, so really pleased with it. So the next thing is that while Phoenix was staying, it was still pretty cold and we needed to get some electricity in here. So we have talked about that before in previous videos, but what we've actually decided is we're putting in a Bluetti AC200, which is this beauty here, because we need to run the lights. Rosie needs to power a laptop. We also need to run the heating, which is what Phoenix needed when he was here on his visit. So we installed a Vevor diesel heater, but the model that we got was an 8 kilowatt heater, so it's big enough to heat the whole cabin in the depths of winter. But that then means that although it runs off 12 volt to start up, it didn't have enough power to run off any of the power banks. So using the lovely Bluetti, we got an adapter, which I'll show you in a moment. So this lovely beast will run our diesel heater and keep the cabin nice and warm in the winter, especially for Phoenix, who said it was great and kept him nice and toasty. So the long-term plan with the Bluetti is it's got 4 AC outputs, and Miss is going to run extensions off these to give Rosie power supplies within the cabin, be that to plug in her laptop, etc., and or to run her lights. And then we'll ultimately put wiring inside the walls before we put the plasterboard on, and then that wiring will plug into here. And then at a much later date, probably in a couple of years, we will be installing a large solar system to power the whole of Rosie's cabin and to power our cabin when we get around to building that. So for the next couple of years, Rosie's power supply is going to come from the Bluetti AC200, which I'm going to review in a separate video for you and give it all its main features. But for now, it did its job very well and powered our new Vevor diesel heater so that Phoenix could stay nice and warm. So I'll just show you that powering up. Basically it's running off normal cable, and then Phoenix had the nice remote control that came with the Vevor, so he could stay in his bed and just turn it on in the morning. So that's the Vevor booting up, and it's worth pointing out that if you're running a Vevor in your cabin or in your van perhaps, or in your workshop, if you get a 2 kilowatt diesel heater, you can run it off the 12 volt cigarette lighter, which generally on a power bank has a maximum ampage of 8, maybe 10 if you're lucky. And that's the heater booting up. I'll just turn that off. So because we have the 8 kilowatt model I mentioned earlier, big enough to heat the whole cabin, It will generally use about 12 amps, so it won't run off a cigarette lighter on any of the available boxes, which is why we've got the larger Bluetti, and we're running it on a DC AC adapter here, which ramps it up to 30 amps, which is plenty to run the Vevor, and then that just plugs in to the AC outlet on the Bluetti AC200, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a good hack that. If you want to run one of the larger diesel heaters such as us, then you do need a method of plugging it into your power bank. So you can get yourself an AC DC adapter, and they come in 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 amp models generally. I just got mine off Amazon, but they're also available on other websites such as eBay, etc. And basically that just ramps up the ampage. The heater is now in situ and it's fitted, and it's an all-in-one heater, so it's one of the new models. So that means that the fuel, which in this case is a diesel, obviously being a diesel heater, is inside the box here. You fill it from up the top there. So we're going to enclose the heater in a box which will double up as a seat for Rosie. So it's going to have a nice box around it. At the moment we just put the pipe as it came on the front. That's the outlet pipe where the heat comes from. So the box will probably come to here, and then we'll fit that in situ, and then the heater will be out of the way, hidden out of view, and it will still work off the remote control. So job done. So I'm really pleased with that, and it was super toasty, said Phoenix when he slept over on some very, very cold nights. So I think it'll do a great job for keeping Rosie nice and warm in the winter. So as always, thank you very much for watching us here on the Wildlands Off-Grid. Super pleased with the floor, as is Rosie, and she's looking forward to varnishing it and getting the plasterboard done so that we can get decorating, which is our next job, or possibly putting up the stairs, which will be going just here. Never built stairs before, so that'll be a challenge. So do subscribe so you can see what happens in the cabin and see her finished off, hopefully very soon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you very soon from the Wildlands. Bye.